Very interesting opinion piece on the South China Morning Post. Civil disobedience has its consequences. So obviously, if you've been paying attention, last year we had the quote-unquote umbrella revolution, where people had occupied a few parts of Hong Kong, wanting a real democratic vote. Now, my opinion is that that wouldn't really change anything, but nonetheless, that's what people were protesting about. And it seems like there are consequences, of course, to civil disobedience. It doesn't matter where it happens. The government doesn't like troublemakers. But I guess the opinion piece here is saying that, by definition, it breaks the law. It may be for a good cause, but don't be surprised if you get dragged into court and thrown into jail. Do the deed and pay the price. That's how you gain respect. It's certainly not by moaning about it. Very interesting view. So basically, to sum up the argument, it's just that if there is an unjust law, and you are protesting the unjust law, if whatever the price is, you have to accept it. Now, the argument here is do the deed, pay the price. So if the law was in a country that if you protest that you get executed, the person who's writing the article piece is basically saying that you should get executed. That doesn't sound like a very sound principle, because it's not. Remember, if you're protesting against something that is immoral, is unlawful, is wrong, then why should you pay the price because it's wrong? That is the entire point of disagreeing and protesting and joining demonstrations about something that you perceive as wrong. That's why countries have freedom of speech. If you go to the UK or the US or Australia, Canada, well, in theory, they have freedom of speech. But that's the point. If you're able to say what you want to say without paying the price. Because if they just change the law and they say, well, actually, you can't say X, you can't do Y, you can't do this, then they can just say whatever they want. And so if we accept the principle of doing the deed and paying the price, then basically everything becomes fine. There's no reason to complain about anything because it's just lawful. So if they make a law that, you have to pay 100% of your income taxes tomorrow, and if you complain, and if the penalty is death, or they burn down your house, and they do that, according to Mr. Alex Lowe, they should do that. Now, I'm sure if you bring this up to Alex Lowe and you brought up this situation, he'd be like, no, that's ridiculous. You're not supposed to do that. Okay, well, then it's not do the deed, pay the price. It's totally cannot be that way. Now, he's making this akin to, young people are complaining because they're getting arrested and even fighting off the police and things like that. Yeah, a 14-year-old boy who was also convicted of assault was sentenced to a rehabilitation center. Okay, yeah, you fight the police. But remember, just because they're police doesn't mean they're not wrong. Remember, if the law is wrong, and it's immoral, and they're stealing from you, and they're hurting people, and the police are protecting the system and the government that enables this system, then the police are also wrong. You cannot say that, well, because they assaulted a police officer, therefore they should go to jail. I don't know. Maybe they should and maybe they shouldn't. But I'll ask you this question. Should the police be protecting the government when the government is making bad laws? Answer this question. And the more and more you go down this rabbit hole, the more and more you're going to realize that things are not on this 2D sort of surface where police good, protesters bad, or protesters good, police bad. It's not this simple. But unfortunately, the way that this article piece is written, it just seems like, well, look, you've assaulted a police officer, you should go to jail, even if the law is wrong, even if the police are protecting the people that made the wrong law. Classic civil disobedience activists accept the consequences of breaching the law, however bad, by taking the punishment. No, they don't. Some of them do. Okay, some of them don't. Through their suffering, they expose the illegitimacy of the law, and the state that administers it. No, You know things are wrong. I don't have to shoot myself in the face to know that's not a good idea. Okay? I don't have to put poison in water to drink it to find out that I'm going to die from that. You don't have to do that to figure that out. You know who, just a few years ago, now I'll give you a couple hints. Someone disobeyed the law in the U.S., and they did not stay in the U.S. to be prosecuted. Instead, he fled to Hong Kong first, and then eventually went to Russia. You know who that was? Edward Snowden. Edward Snowden understood that what the government was doing was wrong. They didn't even say that they were doing it, and it was secret, and they didn't admit it, and that they were collecting all your information forever and ever and ever in some underground bunker that would never, ever go away. Okay? And did he stay in the U.S. so he could get raped in the ass every day? No, he didn't stay there. He fled. And you know why he fled? Because even if he stayed there, he probably wouldn't have been able to leak the information nearly as well as he has been able to do about the spying programs. Okay? But according to this principle that, you do the deed, pay the price, he should have stayed in the U.S. and waited for them to come. They probably would have executed him on the spot, or they would have declared him a traitor and whatever. They would have put him in solitary confinement. They would have raped his ass over and over and over again. And then we would have learned that the law was illegitimate. No, the law is illegitimate whether or not he gets raped in the ass. That's just how it works. I know if something is wrong because the principles don't work. I don't need to see someone get abused and punched in the face and get thrown through a kangaroo court to figure out it's wrong. So, no. It's not about whether or not you're accepting the consequences. Yeah, there are some whiners. Okay? They whine about everything. Okay? Yes, that's totally true. But civil disobedience at the heart of it is about recognizing that something is wrong. And it's not about realizing that you have to accept all the wrong consequences that come with it. Now, inevitably, you're going to face some arrows and slings and things like that. That just comes with the territory. But when the arrows and slings come from people that write newspaper articles and they tell you that, well, if you do it, you deserve it. No, you don't deserve it. I'm sorry, that's just not the case. And if Edward Snowden followed your advice, we probably wouldn't even know half the stuff that the NSA is doing.